In this video I'm going to go over some memory strategies and how you can actually use those to learn the memory words. So the way we learn memory words at One Bite is basically just the irregular words we memorise, because for the words that you can sound out or that have a pattern that you can learn, then it's really great to learn that pattern and learn that set of words and learn how to sound them out. Is the best thing for your brain to remember it, but there are some words, of course, in English that don't follow the rules. So for those ones, we have to use some memory strategies. So these are my favourite 3 memory strategies, and I will also tell you my favourite way to teach this to kids, and this has been just the golden way to, number one, engage them. They love doing this, but also it really makes sense to them after this game, what I'm talking about with memory strategies. So what I do is I set up a box of random objects. Normally I get about 25 random objects, and I tell them it's a game. We're going to see how many you can memorise in 1 minute. So I put all the objects in front of them, I give them 1 minute, after 1 minute put a towel over it, and they have to tell me how many they could remember. After they did that the first time, I'll actually explain to them these memory strategies, and then we use those to memorise the random objects the second time. And I think there's only been 1 or 2 times when they haven't completely blasted their old record out of order, so then they're convinced that we should use memory strategies, and it also, like I said, helps to make sense of how to actually use them. So I'll explain the memory strategies, how we use them for the game, and then how you can use them for a word. So chunking is when you break something into smaller parts. So I have a pretty little memory card for this one, and the picture it's got is of a phone number. And the phone number is broken into different chunks of 3 numbers. So it makes sense. If you're trying to memorise a phone number, don't memorise the whole thing. Remember those 3 numbers, get those 3 numbers in your head. Okay, got those 3 numbers in my head, now I can move on to the next 3 numbers. So that is chunking something, break it into something manageable to remember. The next strategy is linking. And this one I tell to kids is you've got to join it to something that's already in your brain, because if it's joined onto something that's already in your brain, then it's going to stay in there with that thing. And so for our game, we normally use these 2 mostly, and I show them with the objects. I'll normally choose about 12, 13 objects, depending on the kid, and say, okay, well, to start with, this is too many to remember all in one, so let's break them into groups. I'm going to chunk them, but actually, let's break them into groups that we can join together. So I'm going to put the paperclip and the pencil and the rubber band all together, because that's all the stationary stuff, and then I might put the nail and the flower and the ping pong ball together, because I'm going to say that I nail the flower onto the ping pong ball to make myself a new decoration. Let's come up with something stupid and crazy like that. The stupid crazy stuff sticks better than the normal stuff anyway. So we link all of the things together, all of the random objects, tell a story about how these things went together, however it is. And the third thing is repeat. So of course this is useful to memorising anything. Once you've got your 3 objects together, if you just repeat it over and over, ping pong ball, flower, nail, ping pong ball, flower, nail, that's going to help it get stuck in your head. But the key with the repeat is I give them at the same time as this memory strategy card, I give them one that says use all of your senses. We normally don't get into that in the game, but I show them that later with the words. So how we use it for later with the words is then I'll pull out a sight word, so depending on their level, it'll be something that they need to learn. Let's say it's the word where. So I'd say, okay, this is the word where. It's got some tricky parts in it, so we could chunk it in a few different ways. We could chunk it here, break up that part, and say, well, this is going to be the tricky part because WH, that's weird, why has it got a WH? But hey, I'm going to link this to some other words I know, all of the question words. WH is for what, and WH is for when, and WH is for why. So there we go, I've made that link to other things I know, that I know the other question words also have a WH. I could also chunk it here. Okay, so I've chunked this part, E-R-E, this is also a bit random because, you know, it shouldn't really make the sound on the end, but it does. That's a bit hard to remember. I don't really have anything to link that to, so I'm going to repeat it. But the hint is, and I have this little card that tells them you've got to use your hands and your mouth and your nose and your eyes and your ears all at the same time, and they all try and use their nose, which of course is the only sense you can't use, and they think it's a hilarious joke. But the point is that then gets them to, okay, how can we use all of our senses at the same time to memorise this? And the obvious solution is you write it and you speak it out loud. So I'm going to write E-R-E and speak it out loud at the same time. So E-R-E, E-R-E, E-R-E. Repeat it 3 times. Now I can close my eyes. I can do it with my eyes closed. E-R-E. Yep, I got it with my eyes closed. There we go. It's locked in my short-term memory. So now that I've locked both of those in my memory, I can spell the whole word together. And tell them that's locked in your short-term memory. And that means we just have to keep on doing that. Look at that a couple of times during the week. I'll normally send it home on a card for them. And I say, you don't have to study hard on this. You just have to look at that a couple of times this week. But when you look at it, remember, that's right, I did WH because that was like all the other memory question words. And then I did E-R-E, E-R-E, E-R-E. Yeah, I can close my eyes and I can still see that, visualize it with your brain. Of course, you can also chunk that into the word here. So sometimes you get multiple options. There we go. You can have the word here. See if the kids can come up with something. Links and chunks that they make on their own always are more memorable. Sometimes they get a bit stuck, so you're going to have to help them out with that as well. Okay, so that is memory words.